Guys, please check it. All of you get my voice on screen. Please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on screen. Please confirm to me, guys. Those who are returning in online. Right. Right. Good morning, guys. Right, sir. And check it what we completed there in the last class. So in the last class we started data persistency through JDBC. So I given few points about JDBC also, the basic requirement. JDBC is a step-by-step process or a technology or an API. It will provide very good environment to interact with the databases from Java applications in order to perform database operations from Java applications. JDBC is an abstraction collection of interfaces provided by Sun Microsystems and implemented by all the database vendors. In JDBC applications, we need driver. It will map Java API representations to database representations and vice versa. So there are 5 types of drivers. Out of these 5 types, mainly we are going to use type 4 driver. So type 4 driver provided by Oracle is a driver class colon oracle.jdbc.oracle driver, and driver URL is existed here jdbc colon oracle colon thin colon localhost colon 1521 colon XE, and MySQL database is available. Driver is existed here. Driver class com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. This is up to which one here? MySQL 5.7 onwards. And com.mysql.jdbc.driver. This is up to which one? MySQL 5.5 version. And driver URL is also being existed. So JDBC colon MySQL colon slashes localhost 3306 slash dbnet. So like this here, we are able to use some driver class and driver URL. For each and every driver, a separate driver class is existed and a separate driver URL is existed. Next one is which one? Steps to prepare JDBC application is started there, and few steps here are given clearly. First one is load and register the driver. Second one is establish connection between Java application and database. Third one is create either statement or prepare a statement or callable statement. Fourth one is write and execute SQL queries. And fifth one is which one they know, close the connection. Already completed the total flow of execution of this part here. JDBC architecture we completed. Here, mainly what I required from this total discussion, no? How JDBC is able to achieve data persistency. That is my main point. To understand this particular point, we have to use this JDBC architecture we discussed yesterday. Right, sir. If you want to perform load and register the driver, that step there, here we have to use an instruction. Class C is equal to class.forName of oracle.jdbc.oracle driver. When JVM encounter this instruction, JVM will load driver class bytes code to the memory. At the time of loading driver class bytes code to the memory, static block will be executed. As part of the static block execution, driver manager dot register driver method will be executed. By the execution of this register driver method, automatically that JDBC driver will be registered with our application directory. Next one, establish a connection between Java application and database. To establish a connection between Java application and database, here we have to use which one here? Connection con is equal to driver manager dot get connection of driver URL here we have to provide, and next one is database username and password. When JVM encounter this get connection method, it will call internally connect method. Connect method will establish connection between Java application and database. After establish a connection between Java application and database, then get connection method will create connection object. Creating connection object in the sense not creating object for the connection interface, creating object for the implementation cause of the connection interface. Next one after that. Create a statement or prepare statement or callable statement. After establish the connection between Java application and database, literally we need to write and execute SQL queries. To write and execute SQL queries, we need to use some predefined library. That predefined library is provided in the form of which one can know statement object. Statement st is equal to con create statement that we provided there. Right, sir. Next one is which one? Then after that. After getting the statement object, we have to write and execute SQL queries. To write and execute SQL queries here, three methods are used there. First one is which one? Execute query method. Second one is execute update method. Next one is which one there? Execute method. What is the purpose of each and every method? Execute query method can be used to execute select SQL queries to fetch the data from databases. Execute update method can be used to execute non-select SQL queries in order to perform the database operations like create table and inserting records, updating the table, delete the table, and so on. These many operations can we are able to perform. Execute method can be used to execute both the SQL execution there. Both the queries are going to be executed. Both selected and non-select SQL queries are going to be executed. Next one. After that, close the resources schema. But if you want to come for this execute query method, result set rs is equal to st.execute query method, where select a star from emp1 be provided. When JVM encounter this in a section, JVM will take that select SQL query. JVM will submit that select SQL query to the JDBC driver, where JDBC driver will submit the select SQL query to the connection. Connection will carry that select SQL query to database engine, where database engine will execute the select SQL query. By the execution of the select SQL query, it able to fetch the database from data from database now, and the fetch data will be given to the connection. Connection will carry the fetch data to the JDBC driver. Now JDBC driver will send the data to which one they know Java application in the form of result set object. In the result set object, data is available. Later on, we can get result set object and we are able to retrieve data from the result set object. That's different one. If we execute non-select SQL query with this execute update method. When JVM encounter this execute update method here, JVM will take this update SQL query. JVM will send that update SQL query to JDBC driver. JDBC driver will submit that update SQL query to connection. The connection will carry that update SQL query to database engine. Database engine will execute that update SQL query by following query tokenization, query parsing, query optimization, and query execution. Finally, database engine performs some operations at the database table. By performing that operations at the database table, some row count value is generated. Number of records which are updated with our table, that number integer value is generated there. That integer values are given back to which one? Connection. Now connection will carry that integer value to the JDBC driver. Now JDBC driver will submit that connection value to which one can know Java application. This is what exactly the points can we can understand clearly now. So next one is which one here then after that, after completion of this. After completion of this particular content here. What about this next point here? So totally flow of execution here we understood. Even execute method functionality also be same. By using execute method, if we execute select SQL query, Select SQL query will be executed, result set object is created, and finally Boolean value, true value it will return. If we execute non-select SQL query with execute method, there also the situation is which one you know, the situation is very clear. Right, non-select SQL query will be executed. By the execution of this non-select SQL query, there also what happened here now, by the execution of this non-select SQL query, false value will be written. But anyway, database is got updated, integer value is available to Java program. But still, which output here we are getting there now? Boolean value. False is a Boolean value here we are getting there. It's okay. This is overall JDBC functionality. Leave this one. Here my question is, in JDBC, through JDBC, how we are able to achieve data persistency? In serialization and deserialization, we understood data persistency. But in the case of Hibernate, in the case of this which one you know, JDBC, how it is possible to achieve data persistency? Point is very clear. When we establish connection between Java application and database, automatically connection is having a default nature. What is the default nature? No, auto commit nature. Default nature is available, that is which one? No, auto commit nature. What is this auto commit nature exactly? What is the meaning of this auto commit nature here? No, if you submit any SQL query to the connection will carry that SQL query to the database engine. Connection will give an intimation to the database engine, execute this query, and whatever the results are generated there, and store the results onto the database table permanent. Execute our provided SQL query, store the results of this SQL query in a database permanently. So here, giving clarity, store the results into the database permanently. This is what exactly the meaning of which one? Data persistency. The connections auto commit mode is going to make our changes in the database table permanently. So this is the meaning of which one you know, like auto commit mode and as well as data persistency in our JDBC applications. Please recognize this point here clearly. So through JDBC, we are able to achieve data persistency like this only. This because of which one you know, auto commit nature. Even in some situations, you may remove this auto commit nature from the connection. That's fine, no problem. When we remove this auto commit nature to the connection object here, we are not going to get any problem here. But what we are going to provide here, if we remove this auto commit mode, the connection here, then what about the next one you know? The next one is, then after that, the next one is which one here? After this auto commit mode, if you remove this auto commit mode here, explicitly we have to go for transaction object and where we have to use either commit operation or rollback operation here. We have to perform that. Again, commit operation is giving which one there no changes on the database table are permanent. Commit operation is just make the temporary changes as which one permanent here. They're also permanently we are representing our data. So because of this reason, JDBC is achieving data persistency through its auto commit nature or otherwise transactions commit mode. In either of these ways, it able to achieve which one? Data persistency. This is the meaning of which one? No? Data persistency concept. It's okay, good. Up to this part, it's okay. But here I have some few points. Already we have JDBC to achieve data persistency. Then what is the requirement to go for ORM tools? And what is the requirement to go for next concept? First of all, let us talk about the drawbacks with the JDBC. Let us talk about the drawbacks with the JDBC. Then after that, we will think about it. Understand this one? Point number one. If you want to use JDBC as a data persistency solution, if you want to use JDBC, we must have very good awareness on SQL technology. Without knowing SQL, we can't do anything in JDBC. Why? Because in JDBC programs, we have to write SQL queries. So we must require very good awareness on SQL. That is point number one. Next one, JDBC is providing hard-coded approach. Hard-coded approach for data persistency. Every time we have to write 5 to 6 lines of code. Load and register the driver is common. Next one is which one there? Establish the connection is common. Creating statement is common. Boilerplate code. This type of code is called as which one? Boilerplate code. This is minimum. Everywhere we have to write this coding code. But because of one insert SQL query, 5 to 6 lines of code we have to write commonly. So this type of thing is which one a hard-coded approach, and this kind of thing is which one it's not like hard-coded. Anyway, this is separate one, but boilerplate code will be increased. Every time we have to write load and reach to the driver, establish a connection and create statement. This type of setup code we have to provide first of all. So this boilerplate code is not suggestible. This is another point. Because of this reason only, feature frameworks, feature frameworks like Hibernate or maybe Spring framework, they are providing environment to reduce boilerplate code. They are not allowing us to write this boilerplate code. Simply they are allowing us write our exert intersection. Within a section we record the write our exert intersection. Like that, the frameworks are giving awareness for us, environment for us, especially Spring framework. In a Spring framework, JDBC module is available. No need to write class.format. No need to write establish connection. No need to prepare statement object. Simply write our SQL query. That's enough. Only write our SQL query. JDBC template class is available. JDBC template dot query method for select SQL query. Finish. No need to go for this class.format and all these things. Frameworks will do that internally. So here also the same point I'm telling there. JDBC is providing boilerplate code, but which is not suggestible in our JDBC application. Next one is in JDBC, no declarative approach. Everything we have to write in a hard-coded manner. No declarative approach. Queries are not going to be declared in any XML or in any other places. Everything we have to write inside the Java program. So this kind of approach is called as which one? No, hard-coded approach. That JDBC is following there. But again, this hard-coded approach is also be not suggestible in our applications completely. Next one. Then after that, after completion of this, if we use JDBC for our data persistence, every time we have to put concentration on driver management. Driver management. We need to put concentration. Driver is loaded properly or not. Whether we provided driver class name properly or not. Whether we added that jar file properly or not. Class path environment variable we set properly or not. The driver management we have to check. Not only driver management, connection management also we have to put concentration again. The developer has to put extra concentration on these things. Driver manager, connection management, and statement management. Driver management, connection management. Whether this connection is established properly or not. Any problems are identified during this connection establishment. Connection management, explicit focus is required. Next one is statement management. Which statement we have to use there? Is a statement or prepared statement or callable statement? Statement management. We need to have extra focus on these many things. Because of these many things now, data persistence is somewhat difficult in the case of which one JDBC. But finally we can achieve it. With the difficulties, we are able to achieve the data persistence. Tell me what are the various difficulties with this JDBC? In JDBC, first one is which one? We must know SQL technology. This is extra burden to the Java developer. Myself is a Java developer. Don't think about myself is I'm mastering SQL technology, but I'm mastering Java programming language. But I didn't have much awareness on which one that SQL technology. SQL is which one database related technology, database interaction technology. So why I'm going to think about that SQL technology as a Java developer? I want to have a solution without knowing SQL. I want to have a solution in the form of only Java, not in the form of which one database related things. Other purpose will go for which one next feature technologies. But if you want to use JDBC, we must know SQL. That is one point. Next one is which one the JDBC is providing boilerplate code every time. Unnecessarily 3 intersections are common. Every time these intersections are common. Load and register the driver, establish a connection, creating statement and all these things. This is boilerplate code. Good, sir. As much as possible, we have to reduce this boilerplate code in the future technologies also. Of course, future frameworks are given already that kind of environment for us. Next one is which one? Then after that, JDBC is providing hard-coded approach. So every time we have to write programs there, no declarative approach. If you have an XML file where if you declare that query, we can reuse that query number of times there. But this type of declarative approach is not available. Every time we have to write the queries there. Hard-coded manner, we are able to write the coding part inside the JDBC. Next one is developer must have extra concentration on the driver management, connection management, and statement management here. Which statement we have to use? Whether it is a statement object or a prepared statement or callable statement, it's a confusion again. And whether this connection is established properly or not. Driver port numbers are provided properly or not. Next one is driver management. The corresponding driver class is used or not. Corresponding driver jar file is used or not. Everything here we have to take explicitly. So that's why it's a low level database coding part here, low level technology to achieve data persistency. Because of these reasons only, we have to search for which one can know an alternative. That's my point. So this is what exactly the drawbacks with which one can know JDBC content. Leave this punch. After completion of this particular content here, JDBC and its drawbacks about our data persistency, after completion of this particular one, now I want to go for the requirement of ORM in enterprise applications. Requirement of ORM that we have to understand. What is the need of this ORM? What is the requirement of the ORM? This point we have. I'll give more clarity on this particular point. Try to recognize this one. Right, sir. I want to take a simple web application requirement. Web application I will take. Through that I will explain to you clearly how ORM is required. Right, sir. All of you observe this diagram. Everybody put concentration on this representation. Here I am going to take a simple web application. So here student registration form here I have taken. Okay. Now this is server side application for that. This is server side application. Now this is database. Let's say for example, registration form.html, registration app. Now inside this registration app, the servlet is available. Which servlet is existed here? No, registration servlet is existed. A simple server-side program I'm telling, registration servlet. Now this is database. Right, sir. This is database. First of all, in registration form, what I'm going to take now, student ID, student name, and student ADDR. Here, register button is existing. SID, S name, and SADDR. Here, register button is existing. Understand this. Next one is which one? Then after that, at database sites, we have a table. In the table, SID column is existed, S name column is existed, SADDR. Table is existed. This is student table. This is student table. It's okay. I'm going to start flow of execution for this. First of all, I will enter the data. SID S111 or else S111 and student name AAA, student address hibernation. Sorry, I will add a word. Next one is which one there? Register button I clicked there. I clicked on which button? No, register button. When I click on this register button, automatically request will come to the servlet or not? Request will come to which one? This servlet. When request is coming to the servlet now, automatically request and response objects are created. Everybody, answer my point here. Request and response objects are created. This is request object. Inside this request object, data will be stored. Request of parameters data will be stored. What are the request parameters data here now? SID is equal to S111. Next one, SNAME is equal to AAA. SIDDR is equal to ID batch. This is which object here now? Request object. This is clearly which object here now? Request object. Request object is created. Okay, fine. Now what this register servlet will do? What exactly the purpose of this registration servlet? It has to get the data from request object and it has to store that data in which one you know in a database table. It has to get data from request object and it has to store data in a database table. Where all of you have to clearly here data will be saved. What exactly the data will be saved? Can you observe this clearly? S111 AAA. Next one is which one there? No, had a batch. Like this data was saved. That's fine. Then after that, registration servlet is getting some acknowledgement. Which acknowledgement can now successfully saved or such kind of thing there. Next one, it able to give one type of response can. What is that response it is giving there? No, that response might be right, sir. Student inserted successfully. Student inserted successfully. Like this, we prepared some response key. Finally, here we are getting our response. This is about our application here. This is request and this is which one can exactly response here we are getting. It's okay, fine. I'm asking one question to one of you, try to answer for it. Now tell me here, whose data we represented in this entire application, whose data we represented? Student data we represented. Okay. Now listen my question clearly. In this overall example, how many times we represented student data? How many times we represented student data? One time or three times? Give answer. One time or three times? We represented student data in three times, not in one time. Tell me what are the three times? No, one is in HTML form. HTML form. Second one is Java program object. Third one is which one? Database table. Clear. Single student data we represented three times. All of you have to this one. This is first one here. This is hypertext representations. Hypertext representation. Okay. Hypertext representation, or we can say hypertext data model. Hypertext data model. This is important now. Here, in this case, the data is represented in the object orientation or not? Data is represented in the form of object. Means that object orientation or not? So means that here the data is represented in the form of which one can know? object-oriented data model. As for this object-oriented data model only, the data will be represented in this scenario. Data is represented as per which one can know object-oriented data model. Okay. Data is represented as per which one can know object-oriented data model. Leave this one. Next one is which one can know? Last one. Data is represented in the form of table or not? This type of representation is called as relational data model. This type of representation is called as which one can know? Relational data model. That's it. Now tell me, sir, how many models the data we can represent in enterprise applications now? In enterprise applications, we can represent our data in three forms. One is a hypertext data model. Second one is which one? Object-oriented data model. Third one is which one? Relational data model. Is that clear or not? In a hypertext data model, data is represented in the form of which one they know? Hypertext. Hypertext in the sense the data in between the tags. Got my point or not? Markup. In the form of markup only the data will be represented. Markup in the sense data in between the tags. Data will be provided in between the tags. That is nothing but which one? Markup line. Markup representation. That is nothing but hypertext representation. That markup is nothing but which one? Hypertext. It's okay. In object-oriented data model, data is represented in the form of which one? Objects. Data representation is in the form of which one? Objects. Next one, in relational data model, data is represented in the form of which one? Tables. Got my point or not? Okay. Each and every data model is having its own approach to represent the data. Each and every data model is having its own approaches, its own rules and regulations. Their own rules and regulations, their own approaches are available to represent the data. Hypertext is following its own rules and regulations to represent data in more effective manner. Object-oriented data model is having its own rules and regulations to represent data in more effective manner. Relational data model is having its own rules and regulations to represent data in more effective manner. But each and every approach, rules and regulations are different from one to another. One approach to another approach, that rules and regulations are differ. The rules and regulations are different. Don't think all the rules and regulations are same. I get my point or not? The difference in rules and regulations, of each and every data model may provide some mismatches between the data models. Number of mismatches are available between data models. These mismatches are reducing data persistency in our enterprise applications. Understand it here? I represented my data in a hypertext model. No problem. Finally, the data has to be stored in the database table. I represented my data in the form of objects now. Then finally I have to store that object data inside by which one? Database table. So object-oriented data model and relational data model, if you upload this both are having their own approaches of representing the data. As part of their own approaches, when we consolidate both the approaches there, some mismatches are identified between both the data models. That mismatches are reducing data persistency in our enterprise application. But finally, we have to achieve data persistency or not. We need to achieve our data persistency. Understand my point? See, it is very simple to convert the data from hypertext data model to object-oriented data model. Markup model to object-oriented data model. It's very simple to convert. Why? Because internal frameworks and servers will take care about it. Developer is not going to think about it. And a form, if you click on register button, everything could be taken care by framework, that means protocol. Everything could be taken care by our server. Server will get the data, and the server will store the data in the form of the objects. Understand my point? Conversion from hypertext data to object-oriented data model. Who is taking responsibility? Developer or server? Server is taking that responsibility. The developer is not having even a single responsibility. Identify my point. Developer is not having any responsibility, where server is taking responsibility. So forget about this conversion. Forget about this conversion. We don't think about which one they know. Markup representation to object-oriented representation. The servers, underlying servers will take care about it. But now tell me, who is going to take care to convert the data from object-oriented data model to relational data model? Who will do that work? Is a developer's work or any server is doing that work? No server is doing that work. No server is doing that work. Where developer has to do that work. Developer has to take responsibility to convert the program to convert the data from object-oriented data model to relational data model. Developer has to do that. To do this work by the developer must require some compatibility or not. Developer must require some compatibility between object-oriented data model with the relational data model or not. But where is the compatibility? Object-oriented data model is having its own rules and regulations. Relational data model is having its own rules and regulations. Both are different. Both are creating some mismatches there. Because of these mismatches, it is very much difficult for me to store my object data into the database table. It is very much difficult for me to represent my object data model into which one they know relational data model because of this mismatches. Get my point or not? Exactly in this particular situation, if we want to improve data persistency, we have to reduce or we have to avoid the mismatches between object-oriented data model and the relational data model. Exactly in this particular situation, we have to remove or we have to reduce or we have to resolve mismatches between object-oriented data model and relational data model. I'll have to this diagram also there. So exact point what I'm trying to set to exactly where I'm putting concentration here. This is object-oriented data model. This is relational data model. Understand it here. In enterprise application, these two data models are mandatory. So object-oriented data model and the next one is which one can know relational data model. This is relational data model. We can think about it. Here data is available in the form of objects. Okay, now which data is existed here? Let's say for example student data only. SID is equal to S111 and S name is equal to AAA. SADDR is equal to which one can know ID batch. This is which one can know object. Maybe we can think about it. It's a student object, of course. Student class is available, student object is existed here. Understand this point clearly. Okay, instead of saying this one also, I'm going to give clarity on this particular point. Here first we are having which one student class. Student class is available. This is class student. Inside this class student, SID is one property, SNAME is one property, SADR is another property. Right, sir. For this we created object. This is object-oriented data model. At the same time, how data is represented in the case of relational data model now. In relational data model might be database is existed here. No? This is database here. Relational data model in the sense this is database here. Database is existed here. No? All of you observe this one. Your database is existed here. Inside this database, there is a table. One table is existed. Which table is available? Student table is available. Where SID is existed and SNAME is existed. SADDR is available. SID, SNAME and SADDR. Everybody, understand my point here. Now here might be so records are existed here. No? All of you observe this one. Now here as this data I want to be represented. No? This is my expectation. I want to represent the data. S111. Next one is which one can know AAA. Next one is which one can know IDBAT. Data is exist. Data we stored here. Okay, now understand it. So in object-oriented data model, data representation is the form of objects, and it is having its own rules and regulations to represent the data. In relational data model, what we are going to do now? Data is available, but it is represented as per its own rules and regulations now. But if you want to perform any operation from object-oriented data model to relational data model, I need to have some similarities. At least I need to have some path to do manipulations there. But where is the chance here now? Because of their own rules and regulations independently, they are creating some mismatches between both the data models here. That mismatches are reducing data persistency in our enterprise applications. Exactly in this particular situation, to improve data persistency in our enterprise applications, we have to resolve mismatches between object-oriented data model and relational data model. Exactly in this particular situation, to resolve mismatches between object-oriented data model and relational data model. If you want to resolve them, where we need to use a mediator, where we need to provide some mapping related things between object-oriented data model to relational data model. That mapping related thing is called as which one? ORM. Understand exactly what exactly the point I'm telling there? What exactly the mediator here we provided between object-oriented data model and relational data model? That is exactly which one, ORM. What is this ORM exactly? Object relational mapping. What is this? No, object relational mapping. Okay, which type of mapping can try to recognize this? That mapping is very clear. Understand it, can now here table name is which one? Student table name. Student is a STUD is a table name here. My class name is which one? Can know student. So here which key is a primary key? Can know this SID is a primary key. Understand this, can know SID is which one? Can know primary key. Table name is which one? Can know STUD. For example, here my primary key is which one? Can know and SID is a primary key. In which we have primary key at our SID. Similarly, ID property is available at our Java site. ID property is which one? ID property. It is representing unique value kernel. That is which one kernel? SID is ID property in our Java kernel. Try to recognize this one. Now here, what ORM is providing exactly? ORM is providing mapping between object-oriented data model entities and relational data model entities. It is able to provide mapping here. Which type of mapping it is providing there now? First of all, student class is available. For the student class, what is the equivalent thing at our database side? For the class student, what is the equivalent thing at our database side? Student to table or not? For the class, which one is the right thing? Student to table. So it will provide mapping between a class from object-oriented data model and a table from which one they know relational data model. Next one, ID properties, which one can know SID in the case of class care, but the corresponding column in our database table is which one can know SID primary key column. So SID, small SID is a property name and capital SID is which one can know is a column name here inside our database. Next one is normal properties are available. S name is available. Normal column is available here, no S name. And SADDR is existed here normal thing, no. Now a database side also SADDR is existed. So this type of mappings are provided by ORM. If you provide this type of mapping, no, even though if you have 100 number of mismatches between object-oriented data model and relational data model, if this mapping details are available, easily we can store our data from object-oriented data model to relational data model. That's my point here. Now these mapping details are very much clear now. Which class, which table, which object, which record, which ID property, which primary key column, and which normal properties and which normal columns there. If you provide this type of mapping, as is the data will be transferred from object to the corresponding database table. All of you are getting my points or not? This is what exactly the meaning of which one can know ORM. Tell me, I'm asking one question to all of you, try to answer for it. What is ORM? Now tell me. Object relational mapping. What it is elaborated point here now? It is an interface existed between object-oriented data model and a relational data model. It can be used to map a class from object-oriented data model and a table from relational data model. An ID property from object-oriented data model and a primary key column from the relational data model. A normal property from object-oriented data model, a normal column in the relational data model. So it able to provide mapping between object-oriented data model entities with the relational data model entities. Understand this? That mappings are which one? Class table, object record. Object is equivalent to which one? No, record. The object is containing one student data or not. Database also one record is representing one student data. Next one is which one? ID property is equal to which one? No, primary key column. Normal properties are equal to normal column. This mapping is provided through ORM. ORM is an interface existed between object-oriented data model and relational data model. It able to provide mapping between object-oriented data model and relational data model like a class to table and an ID property to primary key column, a normal property to which one they know normal columns, either through XML document. The mapping details we have to provide either through XML document or through annotations. Either through XML document or through which one they know annotation. So this is what exactly the meaning of which one you know ORM, object relational mapping. Right, sir. This is what exactly the point I am telling you. Now tell me how this mapping we are going to do. How we are going to do this mapping, you know, by creating one XML file or by using annotations. We are able to prepare this mapping details. See, first conceptually, if we understand that, implementation is very simple. How we are going to represent these mapping details in the sense? Now tell me, in our servlet applications, no, servlet class names are available, URL patterns are available. How we done mapping between these two? How we do mapping between these two? No, by taking one XML file or not? We have got XML file, we have taken. Similarly, here also if you want to provide mapping between two things here, metadata. Mapping in the sense there is a metadata about our application. That metadata we are going to represent in the form of which one? XML documents. Either through XML documents, the latest one is which one they know through annotations. We are able to provide this type of mappings. This is what exactly the meaning of which one you know ORM, object relational mapping. Sir, all of you are following it, no? This is exactly the purpose of the Hibernate. Here I said to you ORM, no? Here I said to you ORM, no? One of the implementation of ORM is which one? Hibernate. One of the implementation of ORM is which one? Hibernate. This is what Hibernate is. But representations are varying. Hibernate is one implementation, JPA is one implementation, EJP CDDPS is one implementation, TopLink is another implementation, OpenJPA is another implementation. But all these implementations are having their own representations for providing mapping. Hibernate is providing its own. Let's say, for example, database concepts are implemented by Oracle in one way, database concepts are implemented by MySQL in another way, database concepts are implemented by SQL Server in another way. But finally, concept is same, but their implementations are different or not. Here also the same point. Hibernate is providing one representation for mapping, and Hibernate is providing another representation for mapping. And another one is which one they know NTDBs of this EJP is providing one representation of mapping. That mapping will be represented in different forms. So where one of the form is which one you know Hibernate. That we are going to understand clearly. Everybody understand my point clearly. So here it may be which one you know like ORM. That one of the implementation of ORM is which one Hibernate. Now you get the exact intention of this Hibernate is which one putting concentration on this particular mapping details only. Yes, sir, all of you are getting it or not? Now tell me, sir, if you want to use Hibernate, what I required minimum in my Hibernate application itself I'm giving confirmation. If I want to do this type of mapping here to Hibernate, that means if you want to prepare Hibernate application, what I required minimum by seeing this diagram, first one object is required to store the data in the database table. Next one is database table is required to hold the data. Next one is which one the mapping details we have to provide through Hibernate. No, that means through XML where mapping details we have to provide. And to perform all these operations, we require Hibernate software. Getting the data from object, recognize the mapping details, storing the data in the database table. To do all these things, one software is required or not? That software is nothing but Hibernate software. Hibernate software can be required here. So one object is required, database table is required, mapping details are required. Then Hibernate software is required. Hibernate software only will take the data from object, will recognize the mapping details. As per the mapping details, the data will be stored in the corresponding. Understand my point here? So this is what exactly the intention of Hibernate and the intention of which one you know object relational mapping. This is what exactly the introduction part about our ORM, object relational mapping. Right, sir. Now tell me in a single statement what we are going to give definition for this ORM. You know, now tell me ORM is which one? You know, ORM is providing. Tell me what it is providing. Mapping between object oriented data model elements. 2. Which one can know? Relational data model elements. Relational data model elements either through which one can know? XML file, XML document, or through which one can know? Annotations. The mapping details we have to provide either through XML document or through which one can know? Annotation. But which data model can know? Object oriented elements, object oriented data model. Object oriented elements are which one can know? Here a class. A class will be mapped with which one can know? A table. Next one is which one can know? An object will be mapped with which one can know? A record. And next one is which one? Then after that, ID property that will be mapped with which one can know? Primary key column. A normal property with which one can know? Normal column in database table can know. That's it. This type of mapping skill we have to provide either through XML document or through which one can know? Annotations. This is what exactly the requirement of which one can know? ORM. Tell me, sir. I'm asking one question to all of you. Now tell me. Why, sir? Why we are providing mapping details like this? No? Why we are providing mapping details? What is the requirement of this mapping details? Mapping be provided between class table, object records, ID property, primary key column, normal property to normal column. Why we are providing this mapping details? Any reason for that? Because to improve data persistency. Improving data persistency in the sense, existing one is reducing data persistency or not? How data persistency was reduced there? No, because of mismatches between object-oriented data model and relational data model. To resolve the mismatches only, we require mapping details. Okay, now first of all, confirm to me what are the various mismatches are available between object-oriented data model and relational data model. Mismatches between object-oriented data model and a relational data model. Right, sir. What are the various mismatches that existed between object-oriented data model and relational data model? I'll give answers for this. Now try to recognize this one. Right, sir. The very first mismatch, you have to recognize it. Granularity mismatch. First one is which one? You know, granularity mismatch. Next one is which one here? Subtypes of mismatch. Second one is which one? You know, subtypes mismatch. Third one is which one here? Associations mismatch. Next one is which one here? Caste mismatch. Next one is which one you know? And navigation mismatch or flow mismatch. Different things are available. Identity mismatch. Anyway, fourth one is which one here? Identity mismatch. And fifth one is which one can know? Caste mismatch. Like this number of things are existed here. More and more number of mismatches are available. But out of all these mismatches here, mainly two types of mismatches we are going to put consolidate here. Two types of mismatches are mainly we are going to put consolidation. Subtypes mismatch and associations mismatch. Here itself I am going to give clarity for which one again. Four types of mismatches clearly we are going to understand now theoretically. But practical implementation we are going to see after completion of the first HIBERNATE application. No? But first we have to understand what exactly the mismatches are available, how these mismatches are going to be resolved, and what is the requirement to go for ORM. Again we are going to understand. Conceptually we understood. What we understood there conceptually in enterprise application development, we are going to use three types of data models. What are the three types of data models? No, markup representation, object oriented representation, relational database representation. Relational representation now. Markup representation to object representation will be taken care by servers. We will not worry for that. But object-oriented data model to relational data model, if you want to translate the data, if you want to convert the data, there what we have to do now, we need to, and see, whenever we want to translate the data from object-oriented data model to relational data model, where we have to take explicit responsibility to convert that one. If you want to convert that one, first you have to analyze the rules and regulations of which one you know, object-oriented data model and relational data model. Rules and regulations of object-oriented data model and relational data model, both are different. Both are having their own approaches. Their own approaches are giving mismatches between both the data models. What are the various mismatches are available between both the data models? These are the various mismatches here now. Granularity mismatch, subtypes mismatch, associations mismatch, identity mismatch, cost mismatch, and so on. Number of mismatches are available. These mismatches between these both the data models is able to reduce data persistency in our enterprise applications. Where to improve persistency, data persistency in enterprise applications there, we have to resolve all these mismatches. To resolve these mismatches, we need to go for which one? ORM. What is this ORM actually? Object relational mapping. It able to provide mapping between object-oriented data element, object-oriented data model elements with the relational data model elements. What are these object relational data model elements? Object-oriented data model elements? Maybe class with the table, an ID property with the primary key column, normal property with the normal column. This mapping details must be provided either through XML document or through which one annotation. If you do this ORM, automatically these mismatches will be reduced there. When these mismatches are avoided, when these mismatches are resolved, automatically data persistency will be 100% in our enterprise applications. Right. So now we are going to understand these mismatches clearly. Right, sir. First of all, I want to go for these four mismatches. Cost mismatch and other things are not required. Understand this first of all, granularity mismatch. Granularity mismatch. Understand this one. What exactly the granularity mismatch? Right, sir. I will take an example. Try to recognize this example, all of you. All of you observe this one. For example, this is my Java program. Class employee I have taken. This is my which one, Java program. Here what I have taken, class employee I have taken. Now tell me what are the various members inside the employee, EID, E name, and what next one, Okay, fine. EADDR. That's okay. This I created up to now. Tell me, this is my Java, means that object-oriented data model. Tell me the equivalent implementation at our relational data model. Equivalent implementation at relational data model, EID, ENAME, EADDR. So employee table we will take or not? Employee table here we are going to take, where as of now, the table data is which one can know? As of now, the table data is which one here? EID, ENAME and ECell. Up to now here we provided. Okay. Now up to this all of you know. Granularity mismatch we are talking now. First of all, what is the meaning of granularity? Number of elements in an entity is called as granularity. Number of students in our class is called as granularity. Number of properties in our class is called as granularity. Number of columns in our database table is called as granularity. The granularity is representing which one? Count. How many number of elements are available in an entity, that is called as which one? Granularity. Now tell me, what is the granularity of employee class? Three. Three properties are available. What is the granularity of employee table? Three. Up to now it's okay, very clear. But listen carefully. I want to add account details to my employee. I want to add account details to my employee. How I'm going to add account details or else might be your student address details are existed, it's okay. Or else might be I want to add, okay, account details I want to be add to my employee. In object-oriented data model, the rule is which one here, no? I may go for which one here? Class account. Class account. Here we are going to take. Inside this class account, we are able to take which one here, no? String account number and a string account holder name. And next one is which one? Then after that, string account type. Like this, I provided some other. Then immediately inside our class employee, if you want to apply this account to employee, I'll declare which one account ACC. Got my point of. If you want to add account details to my employee class, this one here we have to. I need to prepare a separate account class. That account reference variable must be represented inside which one employee class. This is what we have to do. Okay. But similar things in our databases are which one here? N number of approaches are available. One approach is which one here? No. One approach is which one here? Alter the table by adding number of columns. What are the various columns here? We are going to increase their account number, account name, account type. So the same table we can prepare that. We can alter the table by adding number of columns. This is one solution. And another solution is which one here? We can prepare user-defined data type. User-defined data type we can prepare. EID, ENAME, EADDR. Next one is which one there? EACC. User-defined data type here we prepared. Now this user-defined data type is having that internal members are which one here? Account number, account holder name, account type. You can prepare user-defined data type also. This is another approach. That's it. This is exactly which one employee table. Like this also here we can prepare there. But user-defined data types may be supported or may not be supported in our databases. User-defined data types may be supported, may not be supported in our databases. That depends. Database, some databases may support user-defined data types concept. Some other data types are not supporting user-defined data types. UDTs, user-defined data type in the sense UDTs. EACC is which one they know? UDDD. That means user-defined data type. No, where members are existed here. It may be there is no guarantee for this user-defined data types. May be supported, may not be supported. There is no guarantee for it. But if you come for this particular one here, now what is going on here? Now tell me exactly in this situation. What is going on? What is the mismatch is going on here between these two representations? No? Now tell me, sir, in our overall employee class, how many properties are available here? No, 4 properties are available. But in our employee table, how many properties are available here in the first approach? No, might be 6 properties are existed here. No, 4 properties in which one there no object-oriented data model. 6 properties in which one can no relational data model. That number of elements point of view mismatch is coming or not? Mismatch is coming or not? Now this is what exactly the meaning of which one granularity mismatch. This is the meaning of which one granularity mismatch. To overcome this granularity mismatch here between these two, Java and as well as which one employee, between these two, we need to go for which one ORM implementation. That ORM implementation is which one Hibernate is one of the implementation here if we use there. If we use Hibernate now, then what is the solution for this mismatch here now? Component mapping concept is available. If you go for this component mapping, automatically solution we are able to provide for this mismatch directly. The component mapping we are going to understand in Hibernate content. In Hibernate mapping topic is available, where one of the concept is component mapping. This component mapping is providing solution for granularity mismatch. That's it. This is what exactly the meaning of which one they know granularity mismatch. By defining user-defined data types, also we can provide solution, but there is no guarantee whether these user-defined data types are supported or not supported by the underlying databases. Understand this? What exactly the point I'm telling you? So because of this reason, object relational mapping is required, where one of the implementation is which one Hibernate. Hibernate is required to provide this type of mismatches. So this is the meaning of which one granularity mismatch. Sir, all of you are getting my points or not? This is the meaning of granularity mismatch. It's okay. But how it is going to be solved, all the things we are going to understand might be and in the future concepts. Next one is which one subtypes of mismatch. This overall point is which one? We are able to define inheritance relation between classes. Yes, sir. Am I right or not? In object-oriented data model, inheritance relationship we are able to define. But at database sides, no. Two tables we are going to take primary key, foreign key relationship, no. That giant table, giant key representations might be like this. N number of representations are available at our database side. But in Java side, one type of representation, and in the relational data model, other type of representation is available. So automatically data persistence will be reduced. This is one mismatch. Where to resolve this mismatch, we need to go for ORM. ORM is representing inheritance kind of relation with which one they know primary key foreign key relationship with our databases there. So this object-oriented data model is represented, is mapped with which one they know relational data model. So we are going to see that content also clearly. Do one thing, and this topic, this subtypes mismatch, I will discuss with you tomorrow. And tomorrow I will take an example. Through the example, I will explain to you clearly how inheritance mismatches are going to be resolved there. So by that we are able to get some clarity. Once if I complete this associations mismatch and identity mismatch, directly I will go for which one Hibernate features and as well as which one Hibernate architecture. After this Hibernate elements to prepare application. From that point onwards, we will start application development directly. That's it. So tomorrow I'll complete this identity mismatch and associations mismatch and subtype mismatch. So then after that we may think about Hibernate features and Hibernate architecture. That's it. That's all for today. And tomorrow we'll see the remaining content. Thank you. Thanks a lot.